2020, we all learned about the damage a pandemic situation might cause. But what if I tell you that this virus is such a simple microorganism that it can't be even considered a living species, but yet an infectious parasite that can only manifest into living cells? Hi, I'm Julia, and today we will learn a little bit about viruses. Viruses in general have a protein-based shell called capsid that protects its genetic material, being classified as an acellular microorganism. This capsid can or not be coated by a lipid bilayer, being divided into two groups, the coated ones and the non-coated ones. And you might be wondering, Julia, why do I have to learn about that? Well, let me tell you. Well, learning about those structures is extremely important for us to understand how the virus penetrates our immune system and how we can combat the diseases caused by it.
The actual analysis of viruses just started around the 40s, due to the fact they are such small structures that they don't even have a color. They can be even smaller than the length of a light wave, which means that their rays don't reflect, making it possible to see proper image through optic microscopes. Only with the arrival of electronic microscopes, it was possible for us to actually observe the structure of viruses. Once that this type of microscope works using electron beams, which are smaller than the virus.
Viruses are formed by the reunion of subunits called capsule members, and especially those subunits are self-grouped by chemical sequences determine the symmetry of the viral particle. There are two types of symmetry, the icosahedral and the helical. The natures of math. Years and years of evolution result in the most efficient way to provide as much stability as possible to the particles of viruses using small energy expenditure. The protein structure, for example, is composed by 20 faces or sides, being each one of them an equilateral triangle. Those triangles are stiff and resistant. That's because the triangular structure spreads the force applied over it, without it suffering any deformation. Awesome, huh? I mean, for the virus, in this case. Those math strangences that can be associated to the viruses are essential to understand the behavior of its structure and its respective weaknesses.
Well, helical viruses obligatorily have an envelopment, but this rule does not apply for other structures. In reality, this covers the whole cell of its own membrane, where the virus was generated, so the chemical structure of this layer is compatible with the cell's membrane structure, serving as a great trap to the poor cell. The plasma membrane is a double layer of fat, phosphorus, and proteins, but in the case of the virus's envelopment, this double layer will be hinged by proteins that the own virus codified. This cover is directly associated to the way the virus is transmitted, considering that the other virus is transmitted enterically, such as diarrhea for example. They don't have this envelopment. If they did, they would be easily destroyed through the gastrointestinal tract. Viruses that infiltrate our organisms through mucous membranes are usually enveloped. This happens mainly because this transmission doesn't require the virus to remain in the environment, and for the most of them, the transmission occurs directly from a person to another.
And of course, we couldn't forget to talk about the acephasis, which inhibits the penetration of maleficent microorganisms into our skin and mucous pathways. There are several efficient antiseptics, but the most used nowadays is the ethyl alcohol, IMPM 70 to 75%. Well, we know that the layer of envelopment of the viruses is partially made of fat, right? So what happens is that due to the polar interaction between alcohol and those lipids, the alcohol ends up denaturing this envelopment layer, making the virus weak and vulnerable, preventing the infection. Besides the alcohol, another solution is washing your hands with soap, which also promotes the same efficacy.
So guys, it's extremely important for us to always encourage the scientific progress already made by professionals to keep the public health at a non-worrying level, and to always keep a good personal hygiene to stay away from these parasites. Thank you so much for joining us today, and don't forget to wash your hands. See you next time!